Welcome to the College Basketball Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Today, we're going to look at a battle in the SEC between two of what I think are the top 10 teams in the country. We've got the Kentucky Wildcats coming off a nice two-game winning streak with a couple big wins, even a road win in Starkville against Mississippi State. They'll be battling the Alabama Crimson Tide, who are 14-3, coming off a tough loss to Ole Miss, though. This is a huge game. If you're going to bet it, go to BetMGM. You can click on the link in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. All right, guys, let's just go ahead. Let's get this started. Alabama is already in fantastic shape this season. They hope to keep humming along with their trip to Lexington. After this week's tough home loss to Ole Miss, the Crimson Tide still boast one of the nation's top teams that are looking for a major bounce back win. They've already won at North Carolina and Texas A&M. Lexington's a little bit different than North Carolina and Texas A&M this year. The Crimson Tide lead heavily on star guard Mark Shears, who averages 18 points a game. He's been a major playmaker these last few seasons and is a major part of this elite offense. You'll also see steady production from Grant Nelson, the North Dakota State transfer, who's a great scorer and rebounder and backbone of the front court. Those two senior contributors aren't guiding this ship alone, as freshman LeBron Philon has lived up to his preseason billing. Alabama entered the week at number 4 in the AP Top 25, though that number will change following this last week's loss to Ole Miss. They're sitting 9th in KenPom, 9th in net ratings, and no team in the nation scores more points per game than the Crimson Tide. Now, on the other side, the Kentucky Wildcats, also 14-3, have put their best foot forward in a productive first season under Mark Pope's leadership. The Wildcats boast one of the nation's top offenses and have already put together a fantastic resume of wins. This team has already beaten Duke, Gonzaga, Louisville, Florida, and most recently Texas A&M, and are 40 minutes from another standout win. This is a roster built with transfers that has shined throughout the first 2 months of this season, especially Oklahoma guard Otega Oweh. The kid's been unreal, 15.4 points, 4 rebounds per game, and he seems to be getting better every game. The Wildcats are also getting great contributions, both on offense and defense, from Lamont Butler, a point guard who's a great shooter and defender. Additionally, the contribution of Cody Bray cannot be ignored, as the Dayton transfer has made nearly 47% of his three-point shots this year. These Wildcats are 8th in the AP, but sit just 16th in KenPom and 12th in the net ratings. Regardless, Kentucky is 2nd in the nation in offensive efficiency and 3rd in points per game. With great offensive production all season long, they've had some defensive shortcomings, as almost any team that scores that many points does, but they've scored at will in SEC play, aside from what was really a troubling loss to Georgia just over a week ago in Georgia. Now, 2 weeks ago, Kentucky won a game at home over Florida in which both teams hit 100 points in regulation. This contest could match that level of production and offensive fireworks. The Crimson Tide will have the best player on the court in Sears, but you can't ignore the cohesion of the Wildcats offense with weapons up and down this rotation. If someone like Bree Butler or Jackson Robinson goes off, then Alabama's defense is in for a long day. This is going to be a great game. This matchup could surprise us and be more of a defensive struggle. That's me being sarcastic. That's not going to happen, but anything is possible. But Kentucky actually plays at a faster pace than Florida, and it all comes down to execution. Whichever team executes their offense better will have the upper hand, and that means someone beyond the top options really needs to stand out. I'm going to give Kentucky the edge at home here, even with the Crimson Tide hungry for a bounce-back performance. But don't be surprised if this comes down to the wire. I think this. At 3.5 points, I'm going to take Bama in the points. I think Kentucky wins this game 100-97. If this was 3.5 points, that half point to me is a huge hook to give me to bet Kentucky. But at 3.5 points, I think this is going to be a 1 or 2 point game, 3 at the most. So I'm going to take Alabama to cover, but I'm going to take Kentucky to win the game outright. These are two teams that both have shot to make it to the Final Four and win a national championship. I think this game is going to be very similar to that Florida Gator Kentucky Wildcat game that we saw a couple weekends ago. All right, guys, if you want to follow us on Twitter, X, at Grueling Truth. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube, like and follow on Facebook. Check out thegruelingtruth.com and make sure you hit that link in the description below for BetMGM if you're watching on YouTube. But for now, guys, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.